Actually, the more I think about it, come to think of it, this might actually be a nice little hiding place if the world eventually comes to an end, depending on what happens in tomorrow's elections, of course. But, hey, I found another way to open up in the Wordsworth movie theater. So, joke aside, let's go ahead and get to what you're really here to see, and that is my number 21 worst movie of all time. And I think of this as the absolute worst Christmas movie ever made. How appropriate, because we are now past Halloween and we are getting into the holiday season. So, let's talk about this. There's a bunch of bad Christmas movies, but this, to me, is the absolute worst of the bunch. 2006's Deck the Halls, starring Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick. And in the film, optimist Steve Finch, played by Matthew Broderick, loves these Christmas traditions he has set up with his family and his town. As such, he has set a schedule of activities for his family starting on December 1st, and is the official unofficial consultant for anything Christmas related in the town of Cloverdale, Massachusetts. During the Christmas season, the Hall moved into the house across the street from the Finches. The Halls, in general, are different in outlook and temperament than the Finches. Unlike Steve, Buddy Hall, played by Danny DeVito, scams his way through life and never follows through with anything he starts. While Kelly Finch, played by Kristen Davis, and Tia Hall, played by Kristen Chenoweth, the wives of the two, respectively, and their children began friendships based largely on their differences, Steve and Buddy butt heads based on those differences. It begins with Buddy striving to have his house seen from outer space by decorating it as lavishly and brightly as possible. One of the results of Buddy's task is that he becomes the new go-to guy for anything Christmas-related in Cloverdale, usurping Steve's coveted position. As Steve and Buddy's open animosity grows, they may threaten the joy of Christmas for all, more specifically the families who have their own ideas of what they would like to do over the Christmas season. My God, this movie is fucking awful. I mean, just, wow, that synopsis was so unbearable, I had trouble getting through it. That's how stupid it really was. And the fact that sometimes I can't even read something that's literally right in my fucking face, but I digress. I mean, Christmas with the Cranks is a bad Christmas movie. Christmas Story 2 is a bad Christmas movie. But Deck the Halls is the prime, perfect example of how not to make a Christmas movie. For one thing, the plot makes no sense whatsoever. The whole plot is focused on getting somebody's house to be seen from space. A stupid concept already, but the fact that Buddy's next door neighbor's house can be seen from space and not his, which, that's a stupid idea to begin with. Like, even after all of these lights that Buddy puts up on his house, nope, still can't be seen from space. And it's just like, do you see this right here? Like, you're telling me, like, you can't see that from a long distance? I mean, granted, yes, you can't see a house all the way from up in space when, you're out there looking at the Earth. I understand that. I'm not stupid like this movie is, but they needed to find a way to fill out an hour and a half running time, and that's all this movie is. It's just padding out the running time with stupid, shitty moments, lazy attempts at comedy, one after another, and it just keeps going and going and going. The characters are written so blandly that you feel no sympathy towards them at all. You don't feel anything for Buddy because his whole plan makes no sense, and he's such an idiot that he can't finish anything. Like, he gets a job at a car dealership, and he's apparently really good at it for some reason. He literally starts on his first day, and he's already selling a car, not just to anybody, but to the owner of the dealership. And as he puts it, and what's worse is, I paid sticker. Why can you not finish a job again? Why can't you finish anything? Oh, because we need a movie, that's right. And you don't feel for Steve at all because he's too much of an everything needs to be perfect dimwit, and you can care less about his problems. He comes off as a freaking creep in this movie, and just a disgusting human being in general, for just some of the things that he has. It's amazing how badly written everything about this movie is. The comedy is so poorly written, it's not even funny. This whole movie literally felt like it was written within 6 minutes of shooting the film, and it just felt out like they were forced to come up with so many stupid shit solely right out of the get-go just to have this out for that year's Christmas season. I'm not even kidding. Here's a reason why this movie is so poorly put together. I remember how this movie came together, by the way. It was first announced in February of 2006, literally 2 weeks after Big Mama's House 2, directed by the same guy who directed this movie, John Weitzel, came out. That's mistake number one. The fact that this was first announced 7 months before the movie was actually released. Most movies announce 1 to 3 years up to the time they are released. The fact that this is getting made 7 months from the time that it was first announced to getting released in theaters, that's Jason Freeberg and Aaron Seltzer bullshit. That's literally half the time it took them to make Disaster Movie. Because Disaster Movie didn't exist until May of 2008. It came out that August. That's the level that this movie is at. When you have to be on the level of a Freeberg-Seltzer movie, it's just inexcusable. From the trailer alone, you could already tell that there was nothing there, but if you want to watch the movie itself, I mean, even the production value looks incredibly cheap as well. And you just have to buy so much stupid stuff all throughout the course of the movie. Like, scenes will just happen. Like, you know, Buddy's wife leaves him, and while they're having this argument, you know, he lost his job. Because nobody ever told him. Nobody ever said anything before this. Like, I know there was that scene where he was in the car. He was in the owner's office saying, you know, you got to put some more attention to your job here. And he's just like, I've got to put more attention to the lights. You know, this stupid goal of mine that this movie exists for. It's just like, I got to finish this. And just like, if that was your example of saying that's how you got fired, like, that just shows you how lazy the ideas of this movie are in general. Deck the Halls is so god-awful because it's the ultimate form of a we don't give a fuck about making a good movie, give us your money now movie. There's no smart comedy, there's no characters you root for, there's no feelings of Christmas cheer here, there's nothing. Nothing at all. The movie down the line is just downright offensive on how it thinks it's what the meaning of Christmas is. Plus, the whole idea of Danny DeVito's house can't be seen from space, but his neighbors clearly can. That's just, it's incredibly stupid. Before I even leave here, I gotta tell you how this ends, because this is such a doozy of an ending. Because, like, Buddy takes down all the Christmas lights, hoping that it'll magically bring back his family again. That family wants nothing to do with him. Plus, by the way, I also should mention this. You know, like his daughters are these twin, like, blonde models who are about the size of they're taller than Kristen Chenoweth is, and you're expecting me to believe that Danny DeVito and Kristen Chenoweth gave birth to these two ladies here. Like, you tell me how stupid that is. And, you know, back to what I was going to say before. So they take down the lights, and then both of these guys have lost their families already, and so they decide, well, let's try to make things right again. So at the hotel where everyone is at, because, you know, everyone decides to go into this one hotel room for some reason, Buddy and Steve somehow managed to build this lane that takes them all the way from the hotel to their houses with all the Christmas lights in a matter of a couple of hours. And they set this up as like a long, long distance. If you expect me to believe that it took them less than 2 hours to build this lane from their hotel to the house, again, all bullshit. But the bullshit gets even worse from there. So they reconcile, they settle the differences, and you think the movie's going to be over, but nope. All of a sudden, the town is so invested now in having the lights being put up on the house again, because just like, no, we got to have a purpose for this. They're going to send MTV out here. Like, they're going to send MTV out to this little town in Massachusetts for this thing that completely makes no sense whatsoever, and nobody on MTV gives a shit about. I'm sorry, nobody on MTV cares about what this guy is doing per se. And this is back when MTV was losing their title as music television. It wasn't even music television anymore at that point, I don't think. But so they put the lights back on the house. They get ready to turn it on, and it's just like, you know, it doesn't work. You know, they short out the power. Everybody goes dark, and you know, everybody's taking their phones out there, because, you know, this is 2006. We have like the old school cell phones. there might be some of you out there who are watching this then have no idea what your cell phones used to look like back in 2006. They look like a normal. They look like They look like a phone you would see in your home, like not like nowadays, like the cordless phone and all that type of stuff. That's what the phones back then kind of felt like. I mean, we were slowly but surely starting to get the idea that there could be so much more done with phones in general in terms of, like, taking photos, having these apps like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all those places there. We didn't have much of that back in 2006, but that's beside the point. So everybody's putting their things up in the air like they're at a concert, because also Kristen Chenoweth is singing, because it's Kristen Chenoweth. Of course she's got to sing in the movie, and truth be told, she sings. Her singing is the best thing about the movie, and it's not that long overall. And you think the movie should end there? Like everybody's just going to accept the fact that, hey, this idea is pretty stupid, but you know what? Our whole families came together. We're all having a good time on Christmas Eve. Just accept it for what it is, and then just to add one final insult of injury. So not only do they have all the cell phones with their lights hanging out, but they find a way to unplug to just basically unplug the lights, replug them in again. And it's the trick that does it. The house can be seen from space now, not just with the cell phones, but with the Christmas lights too. And the movie just ends like that. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you cannot be this fucking stupid to think that people are gonna buy this. And that's how the movie ends. I'm not even joking. That's literally how the movie ends. House is seen from space. Buddy's accomplishments in life are done. Now what are you gonna do? We'll never find out, because this isn't getting a sequel anytime soon. Nobody gives a shit about this movie, and of course the filmmakers, never gave a shit about it because of how quickly they put it together. I got nothing else for you. This movie is absolutely horrible. It's a horrible movie, a pure waste of time. Deck the Halls is, bar none, the worst Christmas movie of all time, and it's the number 21 worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life. Bar none. So, with that said, we're about a third of the way through. We got 20 more movies to look at on my list of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. So, check back here next week for my number 20 pick, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.